Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Movie Bello podcast. We are in a new year, but I guess it's the same us. No resolutions here for me. But this time on the pod, we are talking about our most anticipated movies of 2024, the ones that hopefully will not get pushed. We'll see, fingers crossed. I feel like that's been the norm for the past couple of years doing this episode on the pod, but we will figure that out. But joining me this time, first we have Collin Willis. What's going on, buddy?
I am so excited to talk about Madam Web and the entire Sony universe. I mean, Craven, I don't need a top 10. I have a top 2.
My top 10 was actually just those two alternating back and forth. I'm really, really excited, because she was in the Amazon studying spiders, and it's very important.
Yeah, her web connects them all. It's going to be insane.
Well, I will guarantee that will be the last Madam Web mentioned on this podcast. But also joining me is Spencer Henderson. What's going on, man?
I'm excited to be here talking about Arthur the King.
Yes, the good Marky Mark joint. I love it.
The dog movie coming out.
Did y'all see? I'm just like throwing this podcast off the rails already. Did y'all see that movie he had on Apple TV? It was called like The Family Plan or something like that. With like Michelle Monaghan was in it.
No.
Am I crazy? This was a movie that exists in the world, I swear. And apparently,
when did it come out?
I think like in December at some point.
So if you were to say there's a movie that's titled The Family Plan, who's the star of it? My first guess will be Mark Wahlberg. No, Mark Wahlberg for me.
It feels
The Rock would be a close second.
Yeah.
It feels like the kind of movie that Vin Diesel would have made, like in between like Fast
The Pacifier.
The Pacifier,
like Fast 5. Yeah.
Or there's My Spy, the Batista one, which apparently there's a sequel. There's a sequel to that movie coming out this year. Is that on anybody's list? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's on mine.
I could be making up fake news, but I don't feel like looking it up. So here we go. So we all three of us have put together our 10 most anticipated movies of the year, and we are going to run through all those, talk about some things, see any interesting ideas we have about these movies kind of going into them. But before we get to that, Collin, I'll go to you first. Is there anything broadly that you are kind of looking forward to this year in movies, or any like overarching thoughts you have for the year in movies?
I am really excited about how much success we had with things that nobody really expected to be just kind of the biggest movies of the year. And even looking at my list of anticipated movies from last year, 2 of those made my final like top 10 list. And so I'm excited to be surprised. I think even January, which is usually a dead month, has interesting things coming out. The Book of Clarence is kind of a 2023 holdover, but I'm excited to see that, even if it is a January release. There's a couple others that I'm sure we'll talk about in the earlier part of the year. I'm glad to see that we don't have the staple franchises, really. I mean, Marvel has 1 movie coming out this year. No Star Wars, sadly, no Avatar. So I'm excited to see. I hate to call them like smaller because, they still make many millions of dollars, but some of these smaller franchises coming. So I'm excited to see what surprises 2024 has in store.
Spencer, what about you?
So coming out of the year 2023, what's kind of on my mind a lot were the strikes, the 2 big strikes with the WGA and the SAG that we had this year. And I suspect we're going to be feeling the impacts of that this year. Last year, it seemed like it was a lot harder for me to make a top 10 most anticipated movies list. And this year, like I had a much easier time like finding, X amount of titles. Like we kind of were talking about this before we started recording, but last year Dune Part 2 didn't make any of our lists. And it's like that's a huge release. And it was just absent from all of us. And Nick did comment that it might have been for some of us under the assumption that somebody else would put it on their list and allow us to talk about it. But I just feel like that shows you that we had a pretty stacked year for movies this last year. There was kind of a lot to be excited about. And this year it feels like the summer movie season um is really going to be pretty sparse. For example, like I'm pretty sure, other than of course Madam Web, the big superhero film release of the year is what, like Deadpool 3, which, that it seems like the MCU usually has 5 movies that release in any given year. And with the kind of what seems like me and Colin were talking about in our DC podcast, the slow, painful death of the superhero genre, I feel like we're going to start seeing some changes in the film industry. And I just hope that, there's enough to sustain post the strikes. And the death of superhero movies seems like it could be kind of a healthy kind of way for the movie industry to kind of evolve and change. But yeah, I don't know, with the strikes, that's kind of got me a little bit worried, just because of how long those took and how long movies weren't being made for that period of time.
Yeah, and that was definitely on my mind too. I mean, we were supposed to have a Captain America movie this year, but that got pushed to next year because I guess they're still shooting that and they have more writers coming on all the time. So looking forward to that one next year. I'm sure that'll be number one on all of our lists. Um, but yeah, I was kind of going through all of the movies that I was like interested in, and I think what I'm kind of getting to is that I think for independent, or not even independent, because like A24 is, as far as I'm concerned, they're not an independent like studio anymore. They're making $50 million movies and all that. But in terms of like smaller releases, like that won't make billions of dollars, like I think this is going to be a really awesome year for like real, like I think film heads out there. And then maybe on like the top of it all, like we're not going to have as many huge like $1 billion grossers as we've seen like this past year or before COVID and things like that. So I think it'll be a weird year where it's like depending on how much you love movies, which if you're listening to this podcast, I hope you do. Or not, the download's fine. I'll take it. I'll take it where I can get it. But I do think like there's a lot of smaller movies that I am really looking forward to this year. And personally, my taste has just been going there anyway the past couple years, so it's fine by me. So I'm very curious to see though what pops, because they're like, who knows, maybe Madam Web makes $1 billion because there's nothing else in terms of superhero stuff. Or I'm curious to see what Dune does at the box office, because that was hampered by COVID when the first part came out. So there's definitely a lot of unanswered questions for me personally, but I think it will be a good year. I had one conversation with a friend, and I'm trying not to do this because I was like, 2025 might be the year, but I'm trying not to like pass over 24 because I think there's gonna be a lot of good stuff in it. But yeah, shall we get to our lists?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, then Spencer, I'm gonna go to you first for your number 10 movie. What you got for us?
So my number 10 most anticipated movie of the year is actually kind of wild, because I'm not a fan of the first film, like at all, but it's Gladiator 2, which of course is the sequel to the Best Picture winning film Gladiator, directed by Ridley Scott. This is the second year I've been doing this podcast, and the second year a Ridley Scott movie has made it in my top 10 most anticipated movies. I'm a fan of his. I love his medieval epic movies, despite not liking Gladiator. But Kingdom of Heaven is one of my favorite, like of those types of films ever made. And I think the main thing that's got me really, really excited for this movie is it stars Paul Mescal,
Let's go,
like,
baby.
yeah, he's like a new favorite of mine. I love seeing him pop up in things. I'm really excited to see him work with Ridley Scott and kind of, take on the bigger budget kind of epic film. I think he's going to be great in the role. But then the supporting cast is also really impressive too. We have Denzel Washington, Pedro Pascal, Connie Nielsen. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like this could be an instance where the sequel is better than the first for me, just as somebody who is kind of one of the few Gladiator haters. So yeah, I'm very excited for this movie.
Count me in as a Gladiator hater. I just think it's really boring. That and
It
like
is.
Braveheart, like I'm just like very bored
Yeah.
watching both those movies. I don't know if that's an unpopular
Nick, do you
opinion at
hate
this
raw
point.
masculinity?
I do, yeah. That's why I'm a Paul Mescal guy. I'm here for the new
Yeah.
masculinity, baby. Let's go. We show our emotions. We go to therapy. It's great. Yeah, I'm curious about Gladiator 2. It's definitely one where I'm like, this could go either way. Because for me, like Ridley Scott is very much like when there's a Ridley Scott movie coming out, I'm always like, who's the screenwriter? And this one's David Scarpa, who wrote Napoleon, which me personally, it's like Napoleon. I think is a big incomplete because apparently, like the actual version that you're supposed to see of that movie is the 4.5 hour cut.
Yeah. I'm
So
withholding judgment till I see that
yeah,
one, but
like
I was
I watched
disappointed
I
with
watched
the
like
end.
you watch the theatrical cut and I'm like this is so clearly like cut to bits and like they
Yes.
have like
Yes.
people's names in like the bottom corner of the screen to be like this is who this is because there was probably another scene where they introduced that person
Yeah.
that they cut out. So I am very curious, but it's a Ridley Scott movie with Denzel and Paul Mescal. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And if you're a Pedro Pascal guy, he's in here too. So
Yeah, I do love Pedro Pascal. He's a favorite of mine. Um, but Colin, why don't we go to you for your number 10 next?
Perfect. So my number 10 actually comes out probably before this airs, but that's gonna be the new Mean Girls. Like most people born in the 90s, I love the original Mean Girls, and I'm usually pretty anti remakes, but I like that it's somewhat of the same team remaking it because I think there's something interesting there when you can kind of get a second shot at your own ideas. And I like that it's a musical. It seems to be updated to a certain extent, but what I really loved about the first Mean Girls is that they wrote it to feel kind of timeless, and I'm hoping this one feels kind of the same way. I think it's gonna be fun.
It's getting pretty good reviews off the bat. It's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Not that that matters, but I guess it does a little bit. I'm curious about this one because, like you, we're like basically the same age. Mean Girls is really fun. It's a staple. You got Angry Rice in here, who I love. She's great. Renee Rapp is also very fun. Tina Fey, can I come back to write this? Um, I don't. It's funny because it's like it's one of those. It's like one of the 5 trailers where they tried to hide that it was a musical, and so I'm like, is that because the songs are bad, or because people don't like musicals, or they're like ashamed of what they're doing? I'm confused by what this is going into it, but I am curious.
Yeah, and I thought it was weird that they put it for a January release, but when you look at the fact that it was originally meant for streaming and they're like, "Oh, we actually think this has potential," I feel like this is just the first place they could stick it in. Because it does seem weird, because Mean Girls is something that I think still kind of holds its own in the social conscience. Uh, but it's a January release, which is usually where you throw stuff nobody's going to watch anyways. So I feel like it is a weird release date for it, but I'm still holding out hope.
It'll probably make money, is my thought. I can't imagine it
Yeah.
costs that much. What do you think about this, Spencer? What are your Mean Girl takes?
I I love Mean Girls. It's a great movie. I'm not very excited for this one. It's like I don't know. I think it's partly the January thing and the fact that they're trying to hide that it's a musical is weird to me. Like I haven't so just so we're clear, I also don't watch movie trailers, so I haven't seen the trailer for this movie. But I've seen like the promotional like art around the theater, and my fiance, who's a massive Mean Girls fan, says that she's like gonna see it, of course, but she says she doesn't think it looks like all that great, and she's kind of a little more of a like not as much of film enthusiasts as we are, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I will see it for sure. I don't know if I'm as hyped for it, for example, as Collin, to have it on my most anticipated list.
Yeah, I'll probably go and see The Beekeeper instead because I'm a sicko. And Jason
Same.
Statham is, that's the one thing I can't quit. I don't care. I love that man. So that'll probably be first bidding for me this weekend.
A match made in heaven, David Ayer and Jason Statham.
Which that's also getting good reviews too, or like reasonable.
Really? Wow.
It's not Suicide Squad where it's like in the 20s or whatever. So I'm in. That's all I need. Cool. Listen, it's a phishing scam, and he's got to fix it. That's. I guess you haven't seen the trailer, so the reference means nothing to you.
Yeah.
We'll move on.
It's actually the sequel to B-Movie.
That'd be great. It's just Jerry Seinfeld comes in at the end.
He's one of the was a stealth sequel to
because he's one of the beekeepers. Like he's one of this elite squadron of people. I love this. This is great. All right, we should trademark that now.
Who wrote this movie, Collin?
All right, let's move on to my number 10, which I was slightly intrigued to not see on either of your lists, which is Alex Garland's Civil War. I, for one, feel great about this country in many ways. No problems whatsoever. So I'm very excited to see this movie that will surely have no hot takes by anybody whatsoever. So yeah, I think everybody at Daily Wire will have a lot of interesting ideas about this. That they'll all be very reasonable.
Will be the Ben Shapiro rant.
I can see it now.
Yeah.
Just a grown man yelling at I don't know what. But I don't know. It's an Alex Garland movie. I am very excited for anything he makes, even though Men was not for me. That maybe I'm not enough of a sicko for that, but Men was not a personal favorite of mine. But I really like what he does, and Annihilation is one of my favorites. Ex Machina too. So very curious. There's I see a lot of jokes about is it California and Texas are teaming up in this movie, and I feel like that's kind of the running bit, but I don't know. He's a smart guy. I like to see what he does, and I'm not on Twitter anymore, so I won't see any of the horrible takes. So I'll just be sitting in the theater enjoying myself, watching this movie and thinking about the destruction of society. So yeah, that's it.
So, as one's parents tend to do, mine will occasionally get into conspiracy theories. And one of my dad's from several years ago was that there would be a civil war and it would break out into this exact map. The first time I saw the trailer.
Is he a writer on this movie?
The first time I saw the trailer, I had to text my sister, and I was like, "This is insane."
Colin's dad, WGA member.
He told you at a public restaurant, and you saw some guy holding up a tape recorder, and it was Alex Garland.
Meanwhile, he was doodling pictures of Rory Kinnear giving birth to himself 10 different times.
Civil War. I'm excited.
I think it could be interesting. I love Kirsten Dunst, and she is, as you know, in this movie. And it is one of those uncomfortable things where I'm like, you know what? The way the world's looking right now, this might actually be my 2025. So I should see it and prepare while I can.
Prepare, You can just have all the polls up as you're watching this movie, just looking at how Pennsylvania's doing. It's great. It's everything's fine. Don't worry about it. No, I think, like I said, Alex Garland's a smart guy. Great cast. You have Jesse Plemons in there too, Hollywood's best power couple, with him and Kirsten Dunst. Wagner Moura is a guy I really like.
I didn't even know he was in it, to be honest, but that makes me more excited.
Yeah. If you would have watched the trailer, you would have known.
Yeah.
Nick Offerman plays the president. So
yeah.
Oh,
I like this. Well, because they work together in Devs, which I did not see.
Yeah, Devs is awesome. I was going to ask if you've seen that.
Yeah, so I know. I guess they like each other quite a bit. So
yeah. Well, Civil War is an honorable mention for me, I will say. I think there's two reasons it's not on my list. One, because Nick and I's list had a lot of overlap, so I decided to kind of change a couple things up. But also, I wouldn't call Men a bad movie, but I would say I was disappointed by it. It's too interesting to be really a bad movie. Yeah. And I'll take something I'm not into that's still pretty interesting over like just a flat out bad movie any day of the week. But yeah, I'd still remain a fan of Alex Garland. He's written and directed some awesome, awesome movies in the past few years. And yeah, I think also just how kind of not too far from reality this film feels kind of makes me a little bit like dragging my feet towards it and just kind of like, oh, do I really want to go to a movie theater to watch what, yeah, very well, like Collin said, could be the end of our 2024, early 2025. Like it just seems a little bit crazy, but I'm curious for Civil War, no doubt.
Yeah, it's a big swing for A24 too. I think the reported budget's like $50 million. It's like the biggest thing they've ever made. And apparently, like if you read like Deadline or Variety, like all of these, like this is like the next phase of what A24 wants to be and like making these bigger budget movies. So I don't know if this movie will do well, but I like the attempt. I like that it's being made.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it's actually good. But from there, so this is where it starts to get hairy because we have some overlap. Spencer, your number 9 is on my list a little higher up.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we go to Collin for your number 9 next?
Cool. My number 9 is a Coen brother film that is Driveway Dolls. Now Spencer doesn't watch trailers, but I think this is probably the number 3 most played trailer I've seen lately.
Definitely.
And it's kind of growing on me. At first, I wasn't just kind of head over heels for it, but it's one of those movies that just has a lot of people I like in it. I mean, Margaret Qualley is one of the main characters. Coleman Domingo's in it. Pedro Pascal, Matt Damon, everyone's favorite Bill Camp.
Yeah, Bill Camp, gotta love
Bill
him.
Camp, damn.
Yep.
And it just seems like a movie that I think a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, this will be a goofy comedy, and then we'll probably see someone get like hacked up, kind of like the wood chipper in Fargo at some point. So I'm excited for it. Like it just looks like a fun movie. It'll probably be a lot of a hangout movie. I'm excited. I do kind of miss when the Coen brothers were the Coen brothers, but I also kind of like this era where they're starting to just kind of go off and do their own little independent things. And I think this will be fun.
It's really funny because obviously Joel did like the tragedy of Macbeth or whatever. Now Ethan's doing this. It's like, oh, so Ethan's the funny one of the two of them. And when things are like incredibly morbid and serious, that's when Joel kind of comes in to the...
Joel's the man who wasn't there. Ethan is like burn after reading.
Right. Joel like wrote A Serious Man. And then like Ethan was like, I have some ideas for jokes in here somewhere. But you got the ending that you wrote sounds good, so we'll keep that one.
Ethan is the guy who sat down and wrote "Would that it were so simple" 20 times.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to this movie. This movie looks fun. I really like Margaret Qualley and Geraldine Viswanathan. So, and plus Bill Camp, like we said, who's like my favorite character actor. So why not?
Actor.
Letterboxd tells me that Miley Cyrus is also in this.
Yeah, there's like a quick flash in the trailer. Again, sorry, spoilers for the trailer, Spencer.
That's okay.
But she's there's like a. It looks like there's like a drug trip sequence, and she kind of sneaks in there somehow. I don't know.
Interesting.
But I'm in.
Yeah. So Bill Camp literally feels like he was made in a lab to be in Coen Brothers movies or Coen Brother movies. So yeah, this sounds really cool. I actually did kind of consider putting this on my list just because I'm such a massive Coen Brothers fan. And yeah, Tragedy of Macbeth was cool. It sounds like this is more kind of the Coen brother vibe that like I'm used to from how Collin was describing it. The cast as well just really seems like it could be a fun trip to the movies. So yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, a nice little Coen caper is just like I'll take 5 of those a year.
Yeah.
So that's I'm really looking forward to this one. Let's see, where do we go to next? I guess we'll go to my number 9, which I think was a movie that was on my list last year. Maybe. It was. But that is Steve McQueen's Blitz, and it has Saoirse Ronan in it, and Harris Dickinson, which seems like he's just the guy who's in all the movies now, which is totally fine because he's a great actor. And Stephen Graham too, who's in a lot of ways a British Bill Camp to me personally. But it's a Steve McQueen movie. I love all of his movies, and so this one is it's set during the British Capitol bombing in World War II. So I'm curious to see what his war movie looks like. There's not really much out there in the world about this movie, but it's a Steve McQueen movie, and he's one of our best directors. So I'm in. And the last thing he did, well, he has that 4-hour documentary in theaters out right now, which I haven't seen. But Small Axe, which is the series that he did for like Prime a few years ago, I thought was incredible. Like some of the best stuff we've gotten in the last couple of years. So he's just a great director at the top of his game. So I can't wait for this.
Yeah, this is the second year in a row, that you've had this on your list, and this is the second year in a row I have like looked at your list and like, oh shit, the new Steve McQueen movie's coming out this year. Like, I probably should put that on my list. I'm also a massive Steve McQueen fan. Like you, I haven't seen the 4-hour documentary, but I'm pretty sure I've seen all his other like feature length work. And yeah, this sounds awesome. The cast, like you said, sounds great. I'll watch anything he does, honestly. He just has such a strong visual presence and sense. So I'm excited for this. I hope it comes out this year.
Do you have a favorite Steve McQueen movie off the top of your head?
Oh god, that's really hard. I kind of love Hunger. But I also love Widows, which I know is not
Widows
like the
rules.
Popular. Yeah,
I'm so in on Widows.
Popular one, but it's like I think that movie it's just a blast, and it's so well directed too.
Sometimes I go to bed at night and think about the car shot when Colin Farrell drives from seedier Chicago to his mansion
last year. We brought up this exact.
Should we just run back the 23 pod and just like put it in here? We don't have to. We can just go home and not do any more work. This sounds great.
Don't forget that this was the first movie that let Elizabeth Debicki be tall. So
that's true.
Yeah,
Steve McQueen deserves the credit for that too.
He really is a trailblazer in that sense. For me, I think I don't know. Widows is up there for me. I really like Widows. Hunger awesome. Too. I don't know. I'm really in the bag for Shame. I don't know what that says about me as a human, but
it's a good movie.
I think Shame's really good. So
it is really good.
And then Mangrove from Small Axe or Lover's Rock. Even I think actually Lover's Rock is probably my favorite of the 5. But he's good. He's a good director. Makes good films.
I love you, Steve McQueen.
All right, Spencer, we will go next to your number 8 because I don't believe anybody else has it.
Yeah, so this one's kind of like the one for me if we're doing that on this list, but it's Alien Romulus, which of course is the newest entry into the Alien franchise. There's part of me that is mad at this movie because I'm a unabashed fan of Prometheus and Alien Covenant, and I really wanted to see Ridley Scott's third entry into that trilogy because it was so nihilistic and unhinged, and I was just so delighted by how like nasty and just how weird and fucked up and gross those movies were. But I really like Fede Alvarez as a director. There's part of me also that wants to be a little skeptical because this is, the first Alien movie that's being made since Disney bought 20th Century. But the cast is good. We got Kaylee Spaney, who is just, really impressive in the film Priscilla in the lead role. And like I said, Fede Alvarez did like Don't Breathe and Evil Dead 2013, which I think are both really, really solid horror movies. It's got Ridley Scott's stamp of approval. I am really curious for this movie, and I'm the weirdo who I enjoy every one of the Alien movies, including Alien Resurrection, in a
Oh no.
in a train wreck kind of way, where it's like it's just fun to watch, and it's so ridiculous and out there that I can kind of detach it from the rest of the series. But I'm firmly in the Alien 3 good camp and all that. So I'm excited for this movie and to just get more Alien. So
Yeah, Fede Alvarez is definitely one for the sickos. So I'm very curious to see what his Alien movie is, because it could be like just deeply disgusting in many ways. So I'm curious. This one was an honorable mention for me. I'm really curious what this turns into, because it could just be absolutely deplorable, which, you know, that sounds great to me. So Collin,
I mean,
any
if
alien
the
thoughts?
alien doesn't if the alien doesn't fight the predator, what's the point, you know?
Exactly.
Objectively the best of those movies. I'm just kidding. Yeah, we'll see with this one. I'm very curious. I think so. To move on next, so Collin's 8 is we'll have to save on that one for a while. So why don't we? This is where this gets a little weird. Why don't we do one that is on all of our lists, kind of in this range,
Okay.
which would be Dune 2, Dune Part 2, Duned, if you will. It is my number 8, Collin. It is your number 6, and it is Spencer's number 7. So it feels right to talk about it here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're finally getting to Dune 2. You know, we were supposed to get this in
Maybe.
November. In November? Yeah, well, it gets pushed
I'll believe
again.
it when I see it.
There's another strike. Actually, we want more this time.
July Haluder going on strike this time.
Zazov is like, actually, I want to come back to this. These I don't like these, what we gave away here. Yeah, what is there to say? This trailer looks sick. Not that what Spencer would know, but it looks great.
No, I've watched this because I've read the book, so I've
Okay.
seen the Dune 2 trailer. So
Okay.
yeah, I know where the plot goes.
Looks great. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Dune 2. I'm ready for it.
So
Yeah.
I thought that Christopher Walken had retired until this trailer came out. And I was like, no way. I can't believe he's doing this movie. But yeah, I think like the first one just had an insane cast, and I think this one kind of doubles down on that. Because yeah, you have a lot of returning players that are coming back. You know, Timothy Chalamet is, you know, riding just as high as he was when the first one came out. Same thing with Zendaya, but you know, you're adding Austin Butler into the mix. Florence Pugh's in there now. Christopher Walken's in there now. I think Léa Seydoux in this one too.
Yep.
So it's just like you're getting all of the heavy hitters from the first one back, and you're going just kind of nuts with it. And I think Dune has, and granted, it came out in the pandemic, but it proved a success. That was, you know, still in the early-ish wave. I'm pretty sure Godzilla versus Kong had already kind of broken the pandemic by that point, but you know, Dune 2 was really one of those movies that kind of had to duke it out to prove that movies could continue to exist. And now that it kind of built that following, built that respect, now that it has a Lego set based after it, I'm pretty sure Dune 2 is gonna probably be one of the biggest movies of the year, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. It just looks really cool. It looks epic, and Denny feels like, or Dennis as I call him, because we're best friends. He loves this material, and it seems like this movie's just gonna be sick. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, this one's gonna be super epic. Like the scale of it is gonna be on even, I think, a bigger level than the first film. Like you kind of mentioned the cast. Depending on how closely this follows the book, there might be massive actors who have like one scene in this movie who like it's just like he's kind of flexing on who he was able to get for this sequel. And yeah, it's just like I thought the first was awesome. I feel this is going to be more of the same, but in the best possible way, where you just like go in, watch a super rad movie on the biggest screen possible, and you're thoroughly entertained. So yeah, I'm really excited.
It's weird because I feel like, because Dune 2 wasn't immediately greenlit when they put out Dune, so I imagine like they had like a little time to like cast after like Dune came out. So I imagine like Florence Pugh just like on Max, like in her sweatpants, being like, "That movie was sick. Can I be in the second one?" And like she like called her agent, and it worked out. And then like she called Christopher Walken up. He was like, "Yeah, I'm in Dune 2. You should be in it too." That's just my
Also-
head. That's my head canon. I like to think that Christopher Walken and Florence Pugh are best friends.
Tim Blake Nelson is also in this movie.
Oh, let's go, baby! I didn't know that.
Kind of like recent to see it.
Let's go. Speaking of Coen brothers, jeez.
Yeah.
I'm in. I wasn't in until I learned that Tim Blake Nelson was in. Now I'm in.
This is the second character actor who we've just lost our minds knowing he was in a movie in this podcast.
That's when you know that we should be talking about movies if we're just losing our minds
Yeah.
over Bill Camp and Tim Blake
Tim
Nelson.
Blake Nelson. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Dune 2. Looking forward to it. So I think next we will go to my number 7, which is Wolves. Not Wolves. It's Wolf with an S on the end. Which I don't know. I don't know how that works, but we'll see. This movie is directed by John Watts, who you may have heard these
Hot
movies.
take.
He made the Spider-Man movies. I don't know if you've seen those, but they were a little successful. But he has like a weird, not a weird. He can do whatever he wants. But he has, when he's not doing Marvel movies, he just goes off and makes these like gritty like crime movies. Like there's this movie he made a couple years ago with Kevin Bacon called Cop Car. He made that FX show, The Old Man, with Jeff Bridges, which seems like the first like episode or two was really good, and then it kind of got messed up by COVID, and the rest of the series wasn't very good. I haven't seen it, but that's the word on the street out here. But he is writing and directing this movie about, it's 2 lone wolf fixers, and they are assigned to the same job, and the two fixers are Brad Pitt and George Clooney. So in my head, this is just a sequel to Michael Clayton. I like to think that's where this movie's going, but if not, that's still okay. I don't know. It's a fixer movie with Brad Pitt and George Clooney. That sounds sick to me. Sounds like it's 1997 all over again. Really looking forward to it. Yeah, this is a pick for me.
Cool.
Moving on.
Yeah. No, John Watts kind of has rubbed me the wrong way as of recent. I did like Cop Car. The cast, you said, is the most interesting part of this movie. This sounds like, you're kind of, like you said, sounds like a movie that came out in the 90s, and it's people hear of it and they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw that. That was a good movie. What happened in that again?" Like that.
It's like there's a good strong chance where like you talk to your grandfather 6 months from now. He's like, "I saw this movie
Yeah.
the other day. I don't remember what it was called, but it was pretty good."
And that's all he gives you, and it's Wolves.
And you're like, "Cool, thanks, Grandpa.
Yeah.
Love you too."
As we know, I'm also a massive John Watts fan.
No Way Home is your favorite movie ever made.
It's I haven't seen any of his non-Spider-Man work to like have a real opinion on him as a director, but I do like that it's Clooney and Brad Pitt. The fact that they're fixers makes me hope this is a stealth killing them softly kind of vibe to it, because I'd eat that up. So if it's anything like that, then I'm in.
I just kind of hope that Tony Gilroy ghost wrote the entire movie, and it's actually just Michael Clayton too. That's just all I'm hoping for.
I think you're dreaming, Nick, but I hope so too.
It's Michael Clayton's. There's 2 Michael Claytons. That'd be great. I'd watch that.
Shouldn't it be Michael's Clayton?
See, this is why you're a screenwriter and I'm not, All right, I'm excited for this movie, and I'm the only one who's excited for it. But we'll move on.
Hey, I'm maybe possibly excited.
I'll take it. All right, Colin, we'll move to you for your number 7. What you got?
So, my number 7 is The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which is a movie that I did not know about until I started putting this list together. But it is Guy Ritchie, so it's gonna have like 20 different cast members and lots of like split frames. It'll be really cool. But it's actually based on a true, I guess more of a series of event than an actual event. But it is about a secret operations branch of the British government in World War II, and is kind of being touted as basically the birth of like Black Ops missions. And in Guy Ritchie's hands, I think that could be a really interesting thing. My boy Henry Cavill, which if you listen to my DC pod, is a winner, will be the lead role. It seems like in this movie, but there's a lot of. I mean, it's Guy Ritchie. There's like 20 different cast members in this movie, so I think it'll be a good time.
Yeah, my boy Till Schweiger is in this from Inglorious Bastards. Love that dude. Love when he shows up. But yeah, this actually is a pretty good cast. You have Alan Richardson in there, Isaac Gonzalez, Henry Golding too, Alex Pettyfer, if you remember from Magic Mike. That guy,
yeah, from I Am Number 4.
he's a one.
Is in this movie.
Yeah, him too. He's a wonderful actor. Yeah, it's a Guy Ritchie movie. He makes 3 movies a year now, and they're all pretty good.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I'll show up for Guy Ritchie. I do it every time he makes a movie, so I'll do it again. Yeah, this wasn't really super high on my radar, but I like Guy Ritchie. I'm a simple man. When COVID was when vaccines were starting to roll out, I remember one of the first movies I saw like back in theaters was Wrath of Man with Jason Statham, your boy Nick.
Let's go,
and
baby.
I had such a great time watching that movie. I don't know if it was because I was so starved of the theatrical experience or what, but that movie was just amazing when I watched it. And it's just like that one's really been the Guy Ritchie one from the past 5 years that I've really been like, yeah, that was a good movie.
Are we sure Statham's not in this movie? Are we sure?
Not yet, anyways.
He'll show up in the end credits scene.
That'd be great. I'll take it. Anywhere I can get Statham, I don't care. Listen, Beekeeper, I'm ready to go.
Stay tuned for Nick's number 1.
All right, Spencer, we'll go to your number 6 next.
Yeah, so my number 6 is the film I Saw the TV Glow, which is the new film from Jane Schoenbrunn, who is the filmmaker who made the movie We're All Going to the World's Fair in 2021, which was a pretty divisive movie. I feel like I know people who really hated that and had a terrible time watching that movie, which it's definitely a different type of a pace of a movie, but I feel this is a filmmaker who just really has a great sense of what it feels like to be in this age of the internet and the information age, and how discombobulating and alienating and how isolated people can get. And this plot of the new film sounds like it's going to be really interesting to me, like very much in kind of that same ballpark of thematic material. We have Justice Smith, who's the lead actor of the movie, who feels like he's kind of starting to become a lot more like of a bigger actor who's sought after to me. Like I think he's in the Society of Magical Negroes, that movie that's coming out. So yeah, and so he has a couple movies coming out Sundance, and then we also have Fred Durst in this film, who is
he's in this,
the lead singer of Limp Bizkit.
That's amazing.
Which just immediately makes me want to be like, oh, okay, yeah, this Jane Schoenbrunn just seems to know, I guess, what she's there. I actually think they them pronouns is Jane Schoenbrunn. So sorry, didn't mean to misgender, but they are doing behind the camera. And yeah, so I'm very curious about this movie, really excited for it. So that's I Saw the TV Glow.
Yeah, I liked We're All Going to the World's Fair quite a bit. I think it's one of those movies too where it's grown in my estimation since I've seen it. You're right, where I feel like Schoenbrunn is like one of the like up and coming directors who understands what it feels like to be isolated online. I think he really, like, were spot on there. So I think that movie was really good. It's one of the classic Nick movies where like nothing happens and it's great.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. I just love it's like that and Skinamarink are just like nothing's happening,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm having a great time. And it's very creepy. Yeah, like it seems like a lot of their work is like it's like creepy pasta and like just like being online all the time. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's a really like they're a really like cool, interesting voice that I'm looking forward to. I think this is an A24 movie too, so I'm looking forward to it quite a bit. So I guess from here we will move on to, we have a few things that are kind of like jumbled around. Why don't we go to Spencer? We'll stick with you and we'll do your number 5 because it's my 4, so it seems kind of right.
Okay. So my number 5 is going to be Love Lies Bleeding. I'm really, really pumped for this movie, even though I don't know basically anything about it, exclusively because of Rose Glass is the filmmaker behind it. I actually would probably argue Saint Maud is one of the most underappreciated horror movies of the past few years, probably, you know, the 2020s. Just because it's so like horrifying and disturbing, and the vision's so original, and the lead performances, it gets under your skin so deeply, and it just has one of the most incredible endings of any horror movie.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah, it's so brilliant. And so ever since that film came out, I've been dying to see what Rose Glass would do next, and seeing that, you know, she's paired with the cast that she is, you know, Kristen Stewart, Ed Harris, Katie O'Brien, Dave Franco, Jenna Malone. I just think that this movie has a ton of potential. I think it's going to be really probably transgressive and disturbing in the same way that Saint Maud is. Maybe not the same exact way, but you know, it's going to be a really brutal experience, I'm assuming, and I can't wait to see this movie. So yeah. Love Lies Bleeding.
The trailer for this movie is awesome. It got me really excited for it. Yeah, and it's like Kristen Stewart, just anything she's in, I'm gonna watch.
Yes.
Yeah, Rose Glass was like, I think like a big thing, that movie kind of got fucked up with like COVID, because that was like kind of like a weird release in that time. Then it like went to like Epics or something. It was really weird. But that movie is really good, and it's only like 85 minutes too. So she won my heart over with that as well. But yeah, this movie looks really good. Just like a good like American crime thriller with a bodybuilder. So that looks great.
Yeah, and I think Kristen Stewart's been really good about staying busy, because she's been in at least a movie a year for the past few years. So
yeah, she's got another movie at Sundance. I don't remember what the name of it is.
It's Love Me. So big year for Love and Kristen Stewart
in various forms. Yeah, this movie it looks awesome. I'm very much here for it. So I guess next we will go to my number 5, which was Spencer's number 9, and that is Polaris, which is the new movie from Lynn Ramsey, which she hasn't come out with a movie since 2017 with You Were Never Really Here. That movie rules. She's reteaming with Joaquin Phoenix again, and Rooney Mara is in this one as well. There's not much about it, but the tagline is set in Alaska during the 1890s. An ice photographer meets the devil. So,
and
that's, yeah, I'm in. That sounds great.
The crazy thing about this movie is either actor could be playing the devil.
You're like, so right.
Who's going to be the devil? Yeah.
That was going to be my next question.
Oh, sorry to steal your thunder.
Yeah, Lynn Ramsey is, you know, I think she's one of the best filmmakers working, and You Were Never Really Here was really, really good, and kind of like an amazing like you like compare that with Joker. I think it's like for Joaquin, it's like such an amazing 1-2 punch, and like it totally understands like all the things Joker did not understand about like being isolated and violence and all that. And it's just it's a brutal movie, but it is really, really good. So anything that Lynn Ramsey does, I'm just kind of, yeah, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why this film made my list is, well, the main reason is Lynn Ramsey, of course. It's like she doesn't release movies often, obviously her last movie being in 2017, but when she does, they're just like amazing. You know, like prior to You Were Never Really Here, it's We Need to Talk About Kevin, which is an awesome movie. I need to go back and watch Ratcatcher, which I know is one that a lot of people really, really
It's really good.
like, yeah. So, but yeah, this, you know, that cast, her re-teaming with Joaquin Phoenix after, like you said, You Were Never Really Here, which was such an amazing experience and such a great performance for him. I'm just really excited to see what she's got up her sleeve with this one.
Yeah, she takes a long time sometimes on her movies, but they're kind of always worth it. So. Yep. I cannot wait. So we got a lot of things that are kind of jumbled up here. I'm trying to figure out where we should go next. So my number 6 is probably, we want to hold off on that one. Why don't we go, Spencer? Why don't we do your number 4, which is my number 2? But then I think this will help break up some stuff for us.
I'm gonna let you start talking about it since it's higher on your list.
Fair enough. We'll do it.
I feel like that's fair. Yeah.
It's Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis, which I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen with this movie. This could be an all-time disaster, or like a brilliant movie made by one of our best filmmakers late in his career. I have no idea. But yeah, this is, I don't even know how to describe this movie. It's like I guess it's obviously like some sort of homage to Metropolis, but we don't really know much else about it except that the cast is incredible. And then there was like that report that the entire special effects team like left the movie halfway through because Coppola was being crazy. And then like Adam Driver called Deadline and he was like, actually, I worked on this film as the lead, and it was great. I had a wonderful time. There were no issues whatsoever. So, who knows what is going to go on with this movie? But yeah, it's got Adam Driver, Jason Schwartzman, Aubrey Plaza, Natalie Emmanuel, Shia LaBeouf is in it, Dustin Hoffman is in it, Giancarlo Esposito, John Voight, Lawrence Fishburne, Forrest Whitaker, Talia Shire, of course.
Everybody.
Literally everybody is in this movie. He funded it through his wine. So good for him. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, his last 3 movies have been him kind of just messing around with like digital photography and like the form and all that. And I don't even know if I've seen those movies, but like, I guess I have to go back and see those. But it seems like this is a movie he's been trying to make for forever. And he hasn't made a movie, and I don't remember when Twixt came out. I think that was like 2011 or 13 or something. But it seems like he's kind of taken a few movies to kind of figure out how to like, I guess, visualize what he wants to visualize here. But I don't know. We'll see. This movie could be a disaster. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's a Coppola movie. Why not?
Here's my thing. 2 thoughts I had while you were talking. One is, we went to, like, I'm thinking it was 2022. We went to the Francis Ford Coppola restaurant in San Francisco. So I'm gonna go ahead and say I helped fund this movie because I bought some spaghetti and wine from Francis Ford Coppola.
My wife and I went to Wine Country last fall, and we went to Coppola Winery. So I too.
Yeah, you helped.
I too am a producer.
We're basically executive producers on this movie. And my second thought is that, like, you hit the nail on the head, Nick. This movie could be an incredible entry into one of the most prolific filmmakers of all times, filmography that, you know, joins the ranks of his very best works, or it could be an absolute disaster. And in my opinion, both are equally exciting, exciting possible in routes. Like we could go with this. Like there's no way in hell this movie isn't at the very least going to be utterly fascinating, like from beginning to end. Like I just have no doubt that it's going to be a filmmaker who, often takes to Instagram and says, oh, they don't make them like the way that they used to. I think we're going to see him, going back and attempting to make a movie the way that they used to, and it's either going to be a catastrophic fail or like a successful endeavor. And I'm just like, when I think of most anticipated movies of the year, that's like what I'm looking for, is like an experience that regardless how it turns out, I'm still just like head over heels excited for. So yeah, I can't wait for this.
I'm gonna be obsessed with it either way, probably.
Exactly.
Because we're just gonna keep talking about it. I think we have to do a Coppola pod this year. This is what other opportunity we're gonna have to just like talk about Coppola movies and just sit here and talk about.
And I got some Coppola takes too.
Ooh, so I like it. And there's been a bunch that I haven't seen, and obviously he has so many like ebbs and flows in his career where he was broke and made all these movies and needed money, and then
Jack.
Then he made Jack. Jack's in there. So yeah, Megalopolis, let's go. I'm ready.
Collin, what do you think of this movie? I'm curious.
So I think it could be a mixed bag because I'm a little back and forth. I kind of feel about Coppola the same way I do as Ridley Scott, where I'm like, there's some all-time like define cinemas and art form movies in here, and there are also absolute train wrecks that I'm like, just no. But again, and I think this is something I've seen in a lot of our picks this year. Like a lot of it really is the cast and like looking at actors who typically only do more interesting projects, like Adam Driver, who is very open about like, I only want to work with directors who are interesting, right? He's made his Star Wars money. He can basically do whatever he wants now. I do like seeing these people put confidence in them. So I'm like, you know what? It could be something. Again, I don't know just a ton about this movie yet, but I would say I'm more positive towards Coppola than I am negative.
Cool.
Yeah, I love what Adam Driver's doing. He's like,
dude.
He's like, I'll fucking work with Michael, man. Let's go. Like, why not? And then like he's just like he's going with like Baumbach and like he did Annette with Leos Carax. He's just like, I'm just gonna work with all of the cool filmmakers that I love, and we're just gonna go for it.
I think Adam Driver might be my favorite actor. No joke. I think he's so awesome.
Me too. I love him.
Look, sometimes just go through the list of directors that guy has worked with. Your mind will like fall out of the back of your head. It's so nuts how many names he's crossed off the list.
And then we might get crazy. Heat. We might get Heat 2 with Driver, and I'm like, I just can't. Nuts. I just can't wait. I hope that becomes a thing.
I need it. The first rumor was Driver and Chalamet, which I'm trying to picture that.
It's Austin Butler.
I want it.
Right?
I want it. Oh, that's cool.
I think it's like cool. Driver is Neil McCauley, and then Austin Butler is Pacino, which
is Vincent Hanna.
Whatever, I couldn't remember his name.
Interesting.
You caught me.
See, I've also heard Jeremy Allen White, but I don't know if that was he wanted it in the movie or he was in the movie.
I'm here for anything Jeremy Allen White.
Yeah, Jeremy Allen White's awesome.
I'm ready.
Totally cool.
I'm so in. Just give me Heat 2 and I'll be fine. It's great. Yeah. And Michael Mann directs it. I'll be good.
With anybody.
Yeah. All right. So I think at this point we should probably double back, and I think this is probably the time to talk about it. Collin, we are going to go back to your number 8 because it is both Spencer and I's number 3. So do you want to dive into this movie for us?
Yeah. So from my understanding, Robert Pattinson is some sort of expendable, not quite human, who can die and be replaced with some of his memories from the last time that he lived. And first and foremost, I just think that's a cool premise. I think there's a lot you could do with that.
The movie's Mickey 17, by the way. I don't know if we mentioned that.
I should probably say that.
Colin
Um,
I
just
teed you up.
diving.
I teed you up so perfectly, and you just blow into the synopsis. You're killing
I
me.
was trying to set the stage for it, but
I was waiting for him to say as Mickey 17. It never came.
He comes out of his pod. Hello, I am Mickey 17.
Yeah.
but basically he's like colonizing a planet and he can die a bunch and come back to life. I think Robert Pattinson's in that same category as Adam Driver, where he made his Twilight money. Although I can't imagine he made as much money on Twilight. But he's like, I'm going to do interesting things with interesting people. Bong Joon-ho is obviously still kind of riding the Parasite wave, and so I think it's really cool. My man Mark Ruffalo is in this movie, which I don't care what movie if it was a sequel to No Way Home, directed by John Watts again, but only starring Mark Ruffalo, I'd watch. So
It's his
he's one of
character
those
from Poor
actors that-
Things, just running it back.
he's one of those actors that if he's in a movie, I'm in no matter what.
Yeah, it's the new Bong Joon-ho movie. I don't know, that's all I care about, and Robert Pattinson's in it. That's all I need, you know.
What was the name of the movie?
Let me see. Let me check real quick. I think it's Mickey 17. Is that it? No, this movie, I'm really looking forward to it. It just, the day before we were filming this, it got pulled from its March release. So we'll see when it comes out. It sounds like they needed a little more time to like finish it. So maybe this fall, but I think
David Zaslav can't be that stupid, right? That's what I was thinking. I'm always worried when a movie for Warner Brothers gets shelved.
it's a Batwoman or whatever, Batgirl situation. It just like, nah, sorry, you're not gonna see this movie.
He thought this was based off of Mickey Mouse, and he's like, oh, we got to pull that. We can't have that one.
This is a threat, and I hope the FBI is listening. if David Zaslav shelves Bong Joon-ho's movies, I'm gonna burn his house down. It's gonna happen.
Now I kind of want him to do that because that'd be great. You become the new lead of Warner Discovery, and like you just greenlight every cool movie and bankrupt it. You buy the rights to Heat 2 to make sure it happens. I don't know if that was a Warner Brothers movie or not, but you make it happen. It's great. I'm here for it.
Yeah, obviously I cannot wait for this movie. Bong Joon-ho is just one of the best filmmakers we have. Like he's just so consistent. It's like even the movies that people aren't as like wild about that he's done, or the ones that aren't as talked about, like Mother and even Okja, even Barking Dogs Never Bite, I love. So it's I just like, I couldn't be more of a fan of this guy, and I'm really excited to see what the project post his Best Picture, Best Director, Parasite sweep of the Oscars is gonna be. Like I'm really, really curious about it. And Collin's the premise of the movie that he gave us made me even more excited. I didn't even know what it was about. So it's literally just Bong Joon-ho's name that's carrying this over to be something that I'm just so excited to see.
And it's the same still of Robert Pattinson upside down that we've seen over and over again.
Yep,
It's
I've seen that.
It's the new Killers of the Flower Moon photo with Leo at the table.
Unrecognizable Leonardo DiCaprio, by the way.
It's very unrecognizable.
Unrecognizable.
His ears were a little different. It's very unrecognizable.
His hair was parted in the middle. I couldn't tell who it was.
Wait, Leo was in that movie?
No, he wasn't. Nope, not at all. All right, so from there, I think we should we'll split this up a little bit. We're going to go with Collin's number 3, and we'll double back to another movie right after that.
Cool. So I am oftentimes the voice of the mainstream shill products. I'll say that as I introduce this
Go
movie,
on.
though, the caveat that there's a very good chance I hate this movie, because most of the other movies in this vein that have come out have made the bottom of my yearly lists. But Deadpool 3, I'm putting it up there. I know that's going to be controversial to Nick as a non-Sean Levy fan,
My mortal enemy,
but
Sean Levy.
um, I think like the the X-Men franchise as a whole is a lot of ups and downs. But I think overall the quality of it is a lot more consistent than Marvel, and like in general, just the production of these things looks better. Like you can pick pretty much any X-Men movie, put it side by side with any concurrent MCU movie, and it at least looks like a real movie. So I'm hoping that continues as we kind of figure out what Disney's X-Men looks like. It's been, believe it or not, 6 years since the last Deadpool movie. Um, but they're kind of throwing all these mutants in there. It's bringing Hugh Jackman back, which, I that could be the reason why I hate this movie, just because it sounds like there's going to be a lot of multiverse hopping. But I also think that like there's a reason why Hugh Jackman played this character for so long, because people love him and he's great at doing it. And if all this movie is Ryan Reynolds quipping while Hugh Jackman stab things, it's gonna be great. Again, I could hate this movie and it could go right up there with The Flash and No Way Home for me, but I'm choosing to be optimistic. And this is the only Marvel movie, or the only official Marvel movie. There are sort of three others, two of which will certainly flop. But this is the only real MCU movie this year. But I'm optimistic, and I'm gonna stick with that.
I, for one, think Madam Web's going to do really well at the box office, but that's just me. Yeah, Deadpool 3. I don't know. I have a I have a tortured relationship with Ryan Reynolds. Just like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just you know, when I watched Red Notice and like there's just like back to back scenes of The Rock and Ryan Reynolds like shilling their liquor brands. I think that was the moment where I was like, I think I might hate Ryan Reynolds. Um, and this is coming as someone who really liked the first two Deadpool movies and thought they were fun. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. And then he's in that If movie. Uh, I don't know. I think I'm a little tired of the Ryan Reynolds shtick, but I am curious to see what Deadpool 3 is like. What do you think, Spencer?
Uh, so I'm not a fan of the Deadpool movies. I think they're incredibly obnoxious because of Ryan Reynolds. Like I do not like Ryan Reynolds shtick. Like I was over it in 2016 when Deadpool 1 came out, and like now I'm just like I'm getting like the mint mobile ads on my phone when I'm on YouTube, and I'm just
You
like
haven't bought it yet? What are
I
you
feel like
doing?
I feel like yeah, I feel like I'm in hell, to be totally honest. And Deadpool 3 is kind of just an extension of that for me. Collin kind of talked a little bit about his uh disdain and towards movies like The Flash and No Way Home. I feel like this movie's going to be that, just with the obnoxious lead character of Deadpool. And there is a part of me that wants to kind of like perk up a little bit because Hugh Jackman's in it, and I do like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I think that that was like perfect casting, and I enjoyed like Logan and X-Men 2 and X-Men Days of Future Past, but I'm just like I'm so over this series. So that's just where I am right now.
Yeah. Not to rain on your parade, Colin, but I have more negative things to say about this movie. I know I do understand that the whole joke of this movie will be that we can't let things die and Hugh Jackman is back as Wolverine, but
Mm-hmm.
part of me is like, couldn't we have just let him die? I don't know. Like, I get that that's going to be the joke, but it's also like there's some kind of weird, like, perverse, like, thing going on, like, in
Yeah.
that joke, too, where it's like, well, we have to bring him back because that'll help this movie make money, but also, yeah, we'll joke on it and I'll make it okay. But I don't know. Colin, this is a movie you're excited for, so why don't you say more
Yeah.
positive things about it?
Sorry,
Yeah.
Colin. We're just like, hey, your number 3 movie of the year.
Colin, you
Let's
have
absolutely shit
terrible
on it.
taste.
Listen,
off this podcast.
The reason why they can't let Wolverine die is because you didn't go see Reminiscence in 2021. So,
I watched it on Max, damn it.
yeah, I think like my thing is, I think Sean Levy is the perfect 3.5 star movie guy for me. Like, he makes these movies that I don't particularly love, with the exception of Cheaper by the Dozen, which is like one of my favorite family movies growing up. But he makes these movies that are like really accessible. They're like solidly entertaining, and I think his career is just impressive in the fact that he, started like several franchises kind of on his own, which not a lot of directors have done. And I kind of like that Deadpool has sort of a rotating director's chair. It obviously with Tim Miller wasn't intentionally supposed to be that way at first, but then it's kind of moved around. And I think it's also going to be a big test of, can Disney really let all these different franchises kind of coexist and continue to come at the same level, or is everything going to kind of be watered down into the MCU style? So I think a lot of it is just curiosity looking at this movie, being like, okay, so what is the mutant Fox era of Disney going to look like? If it's like the rest of the MCU we've gotten lately, then again, this will probably be on my bottom 10 list for the year instead of my top 10 list, but I'm choosing to be optimistic.
I'm curious because obviously this movie's going to be making fun of the multiverse stuff, and will they be able to make more multiverse movies after Deadpool just like makes fun of it for 2 hours? You know what I mean? Because it'll make fun of all the tropes that they're trying to do with it, and I'm curious if I mean, I guess they have other problems too because they're figuring out all the Jonathan Major stuff and whatnot. But it just I'm curious if they can actually move forward with multiverse stuff after Deadpool 3 just lampoons it. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how that works.
I'm hoping that they have kind of the Suicide Squad attitude towards this, where they just look at all of these characters. Like, a lot of these characters they're bringing back, no one's asking for. Like, no one in their right mind was like, who I'd really love to see again? Elektra from the 2003 Daredevil. So I'm hoping they just take kind of this screw 'em attitude and just have fun, dicking on some of Marvel's less notable stuff. Because I think there could be a lot of fun there in not just trying to relive the highlights of your favorite Marvel movies, but being like, okay, how can we go in and poke fun at this or destroy it or do it differently or something like that.
Maybe they bring back Colin Farrell from what was that? Not an Elektra. Daredevil. I was like, what was the name of the movie? I couldn't think of it for a second. Why not? Let's do it.
That would be funny.
All right. I think we've said enough nice things about Deadpool 3. We can move on. Why don't we? Sorry, let's double back to a movie that is on all of our lists. It's my number 6. It's Colin's number 4, and it is Spencer's number 2. And I will let Spencer talk about it because this is the highest on his list.
Yeah, it's Nosferatu. This is the new film from Robert Eggers, and I don't think there's very rarely a blend of a filmmaker with material that I think fits more than Robert Eggers with Nosferatu. I just have 100% faith in this movie. So I mean, I've seen some of those stills that they've released from the movie, and I'll just say there was one that had Willem Dafoe in it that almost had me going and buying a ladder just to scream from a rooftop of how excited I am for Nosferatu. I just feel like this is going to be incredibly disturbing and upsetting and super specific to the time period in the way that Robert Eggers always is, and it's just gonna roll. I have absolutely no doubt that I'm gonna love this movie. And Robert Eggers is quickly becoming one of my favorite kind of up and coming filmmakers. It's 3 movies prior to this I've absolutely loved, with The Witch being one of my favorite movies ever made, and having him kind of back in that gothic horror kind of vibe, I think is really exciting to me. So yeah, I just can't wait for this movie. I think it's gonna be incredible.
My boy Willem Dafoe is a vampire hunter, and there's a scene in this movie where he works with 2,000 real rats. I'm like, that's what else do I need from movies? You know what I mean? like my dude Willem. He's just out here, just like cuddling with rats for my pleasure. This is great. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just so in. Go ahead, Colin.
Have either of you seen A Shadow of the Vampire?
I have not. No.
So Nicholas, I almost said Nicholas Cage. I don't know where that came from. I was distracted by the fact that Nicholas Hoult is in this movie, but Willem Dafoe, who is actually in the movie Shadow of the Vampire, plays the actor who plays Count Orlok, in that movie. And so I just when I can't think of this Nosferatu without thinking of obviously the original, but then also like that movie, which in itself is kind of an adaptation of that. And I just love the story because I just like Dracula in general. If you'll remember my list from last year,
Yes, I was about to bring it up.
I had not one but two Dracula films on my top 10
Did
list.
you see the last voyage of the Demeter, whatever, however you say
I
it?
did,
Did you
and
like
I
it?
think I liked it.
I enjoyed
Probably
it too.
will never watch it again,
I
but
didn't see it.
I enjoyed it.
It's solid. It's
Uh,
fine.
but I think there's just like there's a like a greater degree of creepiness, I think, from the interpretation of Nosferatu, that I think has just been done really, really well on film. And so I think the bar is set really high for me, and I think Eggers is absolutely gonna knock it out of the park.
I can't wait.
Yeah, this movie just is like, this is the one for the fellas right here. Like, this is it. And it's on Christmas Day too. Like, this is great.
Oh, dude, that's one of my favorite parts about it. It's so good.
Like, this is
Nosferatu
They move
is a
that, I'm gonna
Christmas movie.
scream.
yeah. It takes place at Christmas. Actually, that'd be great. Yeah, Nosferatu. Like, I don't know. It's a Robert Eggers Nosferatu movie. Like, that's awesome. Like, that's just so cool. I think from there, Colin, we're gonna move to your number 2 next.
Perfect. So my main question for you and the listeners is, what do you know about Helm Hammerhand?
Absolutely nothing. Continue.
Well, when we do our 2025 pod, that answer will hopefully be different. So, my number 2 is gonna be The Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim, which is an animated movie that is even as far as like deep Lord of the Rings lore goes, this is like a pretty deep cut within the appendices of the books. But basically, this is the story of how Helm's Deep, which is the big battle in the Two Towers, kind of gets its name and gets its status. And it's going to be animated. It has, I believe, only one returning cast member from the original 3 movies, but it's set kind of within that universe. And so, Eowyn Miranda Otto is narrating this movie. Brian Cox plays the protagonist, Helm Hammerhand, who's basically just trying to defend Helm's Deep
What?
from all the evil other men in Middle Earth. I think it'll be cool. It's nice to see another corner of Middle Earth explored. I think bringing it into animation brings a lot of potential. I really like the old Rankin and Bass Lord of the Rings animations, which is going to be a much different style, but I think it's cool to find a new way to re-explore this without just outright remaking it or making a fourth Hobbit movie. So
I'm curious. You know, I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings person. Not that I like the movies or like the original trilogy a lot. I'm just not like a huge like read the books, don't understand all the lore kind of thing. Um, but yeah, I'm very curious what this is because I know like obviously there's the TV show on Prime, but like it seems like Lord of the Rings is very much they're trying to expand that into more things. So I'm very curious what this becomes.
Yeah, I obviously love the Lord of the Rings movies. And I would say I'm cautiously optimistic about this. Like, I think animation, like Colin said, is a really interesting direction to take this series into. Even if it's, just like the one-off with this, which is what I'm assuming it's going to be. But yeah, it just, there's a lot of, I feel like, this world that Tolkien created that's still left to explore. And I'm interested to see, yeah, different approaches to it, and I hope it's great. Like I'm like I said, cautiously optimistic. So
Yeah, the director
cool
has
pick.
done a lot of animation before
Mm-hmm.
this, so I'm curious if they'll try to like, it won't be a Spider-Verse situation probably, but if they try to like blend, like work with like different kind of animation styles in this, or at least just do something that's really cool. So, but I think from there, Colin, I'm gonna save your number one for last because I know that franchise is very important to you, and I'll let you have your moment. But I think we're gonna.
It's Madam Web.
But I think first we're gonna do a movie that is on all of our lists. It's Colin's number 5. It is both Spencer and I's number 1, and that is Furiosa, a Star Wars story, or whatever. What's the colon title? A Mad Max saga. Yeah, Furiosa. This trailer rules. I, I'm just a man. I like when dusty people in the Australian outback are crazy in a George Miller movie. Um, yeah, this movie looks awesome. All the people complaining about the CGI, I hear you, and I do not care at all. This movie is going to be great, and Chris Hemsworth is a crazy man with a fake nose, and that's great. So this movie, I don't know. I feel like I levitated out of my body when I watched this trailer for the first time, and then I watched it 10 more times. So it just looks like it's gonna rule, and I'm here. It's my number 1.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make a bold claim right now. In my opinion, Mad Max Fury Road is the best film of the 21st century.
Let's go, baby.
I
Let's go.
absolutely love the movie. I have a Mad Max Fury Road poster on my wall in my living room. I could not be more excited for this movie. This movie would be my number 1 any year. No matter what is coming out that year, this would be my number 1. Like the Mad Max series is a series that I like weirdly kind of grew up watching, even when it was like there was stuff in it that was very disturbing, and I was too young to be watching like The Road Warrior, which is like something that rhymes with grape in it, and I also love Thunderdome growing up. I even loved the first Mad Max movie, which is a totally different pace than everything else. And I just trust George Miller like to make something truly amazing. I know that with Fury Road, he like wrote enough like material for like 3 different movies I read. So I'm sure that we're going to see a lot of kind of that the way that Fury Road is absolutely just bursting with ideas in every single frame. Like there are corners of the frame that have more ideas in Fury Road than like entire scenes of other movies where they're shifting a gear with somebody's femur as the shifter. There's so many just like incredible details in his movies, and him bringing Anya Taylor-Joy, who is like one of my favorite actresses, who I'm really excited of what she's like whenever she's working on something new as the lead role, is amazing. Not watching this trailer has honestly been the hardest trailer I've ever not
Oh
been
my
able to
god.
watch.
I've
I've been
watched it like 50
absolutely
times.
dying. Yeah. And I saw like the poster, which is this just insanely gorgeous image of like this really like gold like backdrop, and her in like gold in her Furiosa get up where she's all bald, and you're like, that's Anya Taylor-Joy. That's so crazy. She looks so different. And just knowing, that Chris Hemsworth is playing like this grotesque villain, probably. I just cannot wait for this movie. I'm so excited. So excited for this.
There's one shot in the trailer where like she is like all in shadow except for like a line going across her eyes, and like you can just see her
Oh,
eyes, and
I love it.
I shed a tear, and then it turned into a flamethrower. It was so beautiful. Like I'm just like George Miller, he like these ideas have just been in his head for years, and I love it all. I just love this weird dusty world, and it makes me so happy to that we're in it
Can I
again.
say can I say one more thing? Um, so I am like right now, my wedding is May 25th of this year. Furiosa comes out on May 24th.
Let's go,
and I
baby.
flat out told Kindred, I was like, "Oh, we might have to delay the wedding."
You know,
Like,
after the
wedding
rehearsal dinner,
happening.
you all, instead of going out to
We're
bars,
getting
you
married
go
up
to
in the mountains, so I told her I'm going down Friday. I'm not going down Thursday. 'Cause I'm watching Furiosa, a Mad Max saga.
Listen, you got your priorities straight, and I respect that.
Yeah. I told her I have to watch this movie. I'm dying to watch it. So, yeah.
I think by not watching the trailer, you're missing out on some of my favorite line readings I've ever heard from Chris Hemsworth. Just right up there with like Matt Berry. And I think Hemsworth doesn't get enough credit for how funny of an actor he is.
Yep.
Like even movies that I think are terrible, like the 2016 Ghostbusters, Hemsworth is hilarious in that movie. And like even like you look at what he's kind of done with Thor, or even things like Bad Times at the El Royale, even another movie that I really don't like Men in Black International. I think he's just a funny guy. And I think they're like really kind of letting him play up on that a little bit while also being just this grimy, like dirty, twisted Mad Max villain, which I think is going to be phenomenal. Kind of like I don't know if I'd call it the best movie of the 21st century, but it certainly is one of the best action movies of the 21st century. Mad Max Fury Road is. So I'm excited to see just more of that world. Um, I'll echo all the praises you guys gave it on top of that as well. Like it looks like a real movie. I really loved George Miller's last movie, 3,000 Years of Longing. So I'm
Same.
excited to see him again, just doing stuff. The director of Happy Feet is just out here making magic.
I just can't wait to go once again to the church of Tom Hulkenberg and just have my eardrums blasted out by that score. I'm here. I'm ready. Furiosa, I'm prepared for you. I'm gonna watch the trailer like 100 more times before the movie comes out next year. So with that, Colin, we will get to your number one movie.
Cool. So I have not just a strong suspicion, but pretty much a strong confirmation that if Brennan were here, may he rest in peace, this would also be his number one favorite movie of the year.
He's alive, for the record, for everyone listening out there. Just want to make that straight.
But that is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So War for the Planet of the Apes came out in 2017. It's been a while. I thought this franchise was pretty much done because War made quite a bit less than Dawn. But then this movie kind of came out of nowhere. Like I don't know if I knew that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was as far along as it was until the trailer came out, and I was like, "Wait, this is real." But I'm excited to see the franchise just kind of come back. I love the last three. I love all the Planet of the Apes movies, even the terrible ones where they're going back in time and the apes are drinking wine in a bathtub.
Terrible. That Escape from the Planet of the Apes is awesome. That's not terrible. I love.
Listen, I said I loved them. But this is one of my favorite franchises. I think it's a lot more mature than some of the other big blockbusters. I think a very strong argument could be made that some of the best motion capture we've ever seen, like some of the best CGI ever, is still in even, a 10-year-old movie like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I think Maurice the orangutan is the best looking any like motion capture thing has ever been. That's a hill I'm willing to die on. He's just a beautiful monkey. But I'm excited to see them kind of take this in a new direction. They're jumping it forward in time like 200 or 300 years. They're gonna kind of get into the different ape classes that were in those original 5 movies, which I think opens up a lot of new territory. It looks like we're finally almost fully leaving the human protagonist behind. It looks like there's still some kind of human sidekick in the movie, but really just kind of relying on the apes. And so I have really high hopes. I love this franchise. I'm excited to see what direction they take it in. I'm a little nervous because it is Disney kind of taking the reins now. West Ball, I'm not 100% confident in, but I am confident in this franchise as a whole. I actually really like the guy they got to compose the score for it, and that's John Paisano, who most recently has done like the Marvel Spider-Man games. He did the Daredevil
Mm.
score, so I really like him just from a musical standpoint. I love apes. Give me more monkeys. That's my final thought.
May 24th big is a big weekend because we have this and Furiosa, and
Oh,
Spencer is gonna skip his wedding for the Garfield movie that weekend.
there's no way some of those don't move.
Yeah, it seems weird, right? Like, especially with this being like a slightly like, I don't know, leaner year, you would think that they would move stuff around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm shocked that the Garfield movie isn't on anybody's lists.
I think it's interesting that they gave Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes that weekend though, because I wouldn't, and I think Deadpool 3 originally had it. So I wouldn't have pegged this to be the movie they were kind of staking their summer on, but that gives me hope that they have a lot of faith in it, which just makes me happy because I love watching the apes succeed.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic for this movie. This movie is an honorable mention for me, and Wes Ball is a director I'm curious about because he did all those Maze Runner movies, which I think
Yeah.
are, I don't know, they're mid. I don't know, but there's like really good action sequences in those movies, and so that makes me wonder if he's just like a good director who needs a good script, and like those were just like YA
Hmm.
novels that were kind of like the stories for those weren't amazing anyway. Because there's like one train sequence in like the third one. What is that? I don't even remember what that movie's called. Maze Runner 3. But there's this train sequence in it that's really good. And I was like, oh, this guy's a good action director. Um, so,
Can you imagine if one of us would have been like, oh, and then said the title?
yeah.
Like, of course, yeah.
Wait, what,
I
what's
think
the.
I've only seen the second one, and I can't remember what that
That
one's
one's the
called.
Scorch Trials. I remember that one for some reason.
Scorch Trials.
What is this
Of
movie?
course
Oh,
it is.
it's The Death Cure. That's what the third one's called. I saw that movie in theaters.
Oh God.
2018. That was a wild time.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
But I think there's something there with Wes Ball being a good director, but Matt Reeves isn't attached to this, so that has my doubts because I think he's very good at working within properties and delivering good movies. So, but yeah, I do like a lot of these movies, so I will be there.
I'm hopeful as well about this movie. I also do have a soft spot for the Planet of the Apes movies. Like I grew up with the old like well, it started off as Charlton Heston movies and then evolved into much weirder and crazy things like people worshiping bombs and apes going back in time and all this. Like I really love the original five movies, like Collin was saying. Um, but yeah, the Matt Reeves trilogy. I guess the first one wasn't Matt Reeves of the Caesar trilogy or whatever you want to call it. They're awesome movies. The reason why this isn't on my list is the whole West Ball of it all, just because yeah, he did the Maze Runner movies, but he's also gonna be doing the new Zelda movie, which maybe makes me think that they're optimistic about what he's done here. Like I don't know. Like I'm curious about this movie, and I hope it's great because I'm a big fan of the watching monkeys do monkey things and at times beat the shit out of people and just be silly generally. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, so Wes Ball, either our next great action director or next corporate studio hack. We'll see.
Yep. Time will tell.
Colin, any other thoughts on your number one movie?
Monkeys, man. I, I'm excited. This
That's a good take. I
like
like it.
I didn't know that this movie existed until I saw the trailer, and it's just captivated me since then. That since Spencer doesn't watch the trailer, there's a shot in the trailer where one of the monkeys is looking through a telescope, and it's just beautiful. I feel the same way that Nick did watching that shadow shot of Furiosa.
All right, so with that,
Missing out.
I think since we kind of jumped around again, why don't we kind of double back and read off all of our lists? So, Colin, why don't you go from 10 to 1?
Yeah.
By the way, are we
So
gonna do
my
honorable mentions?
We're going to get to those. Don't worry.
Okay, cool.
I have Shyamalan takes. We will get there.
Cool.
you mean
Alright.
untitled Shyamalan takes?
No. Fair enough.
Yeah. So I'll start from my number 10. You just want me to go all the way down?
Yep, sounds great. You're doing great.
Cool. So my number 10 is Mean Girls 2024. Then we have number 9, Drive Away Dolls. Number 8, Mickey 17, which I did remember the name of this time. Number 7, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Number 6, Dune Part 2. Number 5, Furiosa. 4, Nosferatu. 3, Deadpool 3. 2, The War of the Rohirrim. And number 1, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
For a second, I thought you were going to do like Mean Girls 2004 at the beginning of that list, which that would
I'm
have been a
just going to
choice.
watch the Blu-ray.
Yeah, that sounds like a great way to spend your time. Spencer, let's go through your list.
Okay, so my number 10 is going to be Gladiator 2, number 9, Polaris, number 8, Alien Romulus, number 7, Dune Part 2, number 6, I Saw the TV Glow, number 5, Love Lies Bleeding, number 4, Megalopolis, number 3, Mickey 17, number 2, Nosferatu, and number 1, Furiosa.
Love it. And we'll do my list too. So my number 10 is Civil War, 9 is Blitz, 8 is Dune 2, 7 is Wolves, everyone's favorite movie, 6 Nosferatu, 5 Polaris, 4 Love Lies Bleeding, 3 Mickey 17, 2 Megalopolis, and number 1 Furiosa. I feel good about those. Those are 3 damn good lists, if you ask me. So before we get out of here,
Hell yeah.
we have there. Believe it or not, there are more than 10 movies coming out this year, if you can believe it, with all the strikes. But I will put it to you first, Colin. Are there any other movies that we didn't mention here that you have your eye on?
So I have one that I'm not quite sure if it counts. And that's actually one that comes out this week. That's going to be the Book of Clarence, which is, I mean, Lakeith Stanfield's another one of those guys that, like, if you put him in a movie, I'm in. Like, I will
Same.
watch it. I
Yep.
don't care what it is. I don't think I heard about this movie until last week, and then I saw that it was coming out this week, and I was like, what the hell? But basically, it takes place back during Jesus's ministry, and Lakeith plays a character who wants to become powerful by joining the ministry, and then like figuring out how to do miracles and that kind of stuff on his own. So that one is definitely up there for me, just because it seems just like kind of an out there premise. And again, it's Lakeith. I will sign up for anything that he wants to do. I think Ballerina's probably going to be another one on my list, assuming that still comes out this year. And that's another one that we still don't know just a ton about, other than it's a young, like, it's set, I believe, in between John Wick 3 and 4, and it follows Ana de Armas's ballerina character kind of working for the Ruska Roma. But I think really those are my top 2 most anticipated that I didn't have on the list.
How about you, Spencer?
Okay, so we already talked about Civil War, which I'm excited for. Challengers, the new Luca Guadagnino movie, that's one that I'm excited for. I really like him as a filmmaker. Twisters is on my most anticipated list.
From Lee Isaac Chung, baby.
Yeah, just because it's Lee Isaac Chung. That like immediately made it a movie that I was pretty pumped for, just because we love Minari on this podcast. And then Cuckoo, which is directed by Tillman Singer, who made this really cool
yeah,
small horror
I'm excited
movie
for
called
this
Loose.
movie.
Yeah, this one sounds really interesting and probably going to be pretty freaky as well, which I'm a fan of the freaky stuff. Okay, and then I have 2 kind of bold. They might not happen this year, so I want to have them like out there just in case they do get released this year, especially because one I know starts shooting pretty soon, and that is Weapons, which is the new film from Zach Krieger. It starts shooting, I think, next month,
Hey.
which means I think that it could potentially be late in the year release. And the hype around this movie, I feel like with everything that went down with the script and the bidding war that ensued, like Jordan Peele ended up like firing his manager because they dropped out of the bidding war and finding new management because he was so mad that they didn't get to make this movie and help make the movie. I cannot wait for this movie. Like the people are describing it as like Magnolia's script, but in a horror film. I'm
Let's
just
go.
like, give it to me right now. Yeah, I loved Barbarian. It was incredible. Cannot wait. And then, kind of on the same note, the second one is the untitled Jordan Peele film. It's got like, I guess, unslated, but it was originally supposed to come out on Christmas Day as well. We'll see if it hits that. I just can't not have the new Jordan Peele movie on my list in case it does come out this year. So
yeah, I hope that happens, because I saw the quotes where he was like, "This is probably going to be my best movie if I do it right." Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, now I have to have it. It's like it's like the KG from Uncut Gems. Like, why would you show me if I can't have it?
Yeah, exactly.
I have a bunch to run through here. We have 2 Shyamalan movies this year. One from M. Night, and then one from his daughter Ashana. Apparently M. Night's is called Trap, or that's what it's being called right now, and then Ashana's is The Watchers. So we'll see if nepotism works out. Who's to say?
Go nepotism!
Yeah, if it works out, I'm fine with it. You know, they brought us Sofia Coppola, so that's okay. There's a Speak No Evil English remake coming out this year, which is, I think, a favorite of you and mine, Spencer, right? But just a very incredibly uncomfortable movie that played at Sundance a few years ago. We
love just feeling like absolute shit, Nick. That's what it comes down to, is we just love when movies leave us just feeling god awful inside.
It's the best. You know, the ending of this movie is just a real uplifter. Yep. So that movie made me incredibly uncomfortable, so I'm really curious what the new one is. So how do we feel about Mufasa the Lion King? Barry Jenkins is directing it.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I can't bring myself to be dreading it because it's Barry Jenkins, if that answers your question.
Worst case scenario, he gets the bag so he can go off and do 10 Barry Jenkins movies. So it could be just a necessary evil. And also, I don't know.
Positive, yeah.
A Lion King movie, but Barry Jenkins, there must be some kind of interesting take to it.
I hope so.
I don't know. He's also writing a movie. It's called Flint Strong. I don't really know much about it, but he wrote a movie that's coming out this year. So we'll see. We'll see where that is. Maxine, you know,
yes, that almost made my list.
Mia Goth continues to be a sicko, and I continue to thank her. So the third in the slasher trilogy from Ty West. So I think apparently this one takes place in like 1980s porn. So good for them.
And it's Giallo inspired, which is really cool.
Yeah. I don't know about you.
Also has a stacked cast.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know about you guys, but between Civil War and then Joker 2 and Horizon: An American Saga in an election year, it feels right. It feels right to me. Do we have any takes on the Horizon movies? Because there's 2 of them coming out this year. Kevin Costner just out here just like bankrolling all of these like Coppola.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't even know what you're talking about. Right?
You don't know what I'm talking about? So there's
yeah.
So there are Kevin Costner privately funded, I think what is supposed to turn into many movies if this works out. But there are it's called Horizon: An American Saga, and there is part 1 and 2 coming out this year. One is coming out in July, I think, and the next one is coming out in August, or it might be June and August. But there's 2 movies from Kevin Costner, 2 westerns that are coming out this year, which I think is like, it takes place in like the West post Civil War or something like that.
They have who's in?
I think the first one is pre-Civil War and the second one is post-Civil War, if I remember right.
Yeah, so he's just, I think like Jenna Malone is in these movies.
Oh.
Sienna Miller. I'm looking at the cast right now. Sam Worthington. Let's go, baby.
Hey.
Love it. Glenn Turman is in these movies. Michael Rooker, Giovanni Ribisi, Will Patton, Thomas Hayden Church, Luke Wilson.
Holy cow.
Danny Houston's in there.
Movie. This is actually happening.
These are things that are happening.
Okay, all right. I had not heard of this at all.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he basically spent every cent he's earned from Yellowstone putting this together.
Well, I think because he's like off of Yellowstone now. I don't watch Yellowstone, but I know everyone's uncle does. But he was like, no, I want to go out and film these, and they wouldn't let him out of his contract. So he was like, all right, well, I'm just out. So I don't know. We're getting at least 2 of these, and apparently he's trying to make more of them if these work out. So this is his passion project.
Holy cow.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. Inside Out 2? Anybody? Maya Hawke has anxiety? That seems right.
I don't like that Pete Docter's not directing it, and I get that he's in charge of Pixar now, but it just doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I don't have much faith in this one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I hope it's good.
Me too.
Pixar recently has kind of been letting me down. So.
Yeah. If they bring back Bing Bong, then I'm gonna riot. Is all I have to say.
Oh,
you can't bring that back and like open up that wound again.
Yeah.
I have a few more here. We have apparently the last movie from Paul Schrader coming out this year. Oh, Canada. I know, Spencer, you're a Schrader head, as I am.
I'm a huge Schrader head.
And apparently this is being compared to Mishima. So.
Oh.
And it's like a similar style. So we'll see.
Oh yeah, that sounds awesome.
Hitman, the Richard Linklater movie.
I'm excited.
Spaceman, the Adam Sandler movie. Which, listen, when he works with a real director, it's typically a good movie.
Who's directing that again? I did see that when I was looking.
I forget the name, but he has directed a lot of like HBO series. Johan Renck, I think that's how you say his name. I think maybe. Paul Dano and Carey Mulligan are in it too. But yeah, he directed a lot of Chernobyl.
Yes, that's right. I was looking at his filmography when I was making this list.
It's not. There's no Kevin James here, so that makes me it's a Sandler movie, but there's no Schneider or Kevin James. I'm very much looking forward to it.
Same.
And then a couple here, The People's Joker. I'm excited for that. I don't know if you all know about that one, the copyrighted movie that is apparently coming out, and it is like a lampoon of Joker. And then we have The Bike Riders, which is like, I don't know, it's Tom Hardy and Austin Butler in a biker movie that's just like inject that into my veins. And then the last one is the new David Cronenberg movie, The Shrouds. I loved Crimes of the Future.
Another movie I didn't know about.
And apparently this is coming out this year. So
hell yeah.
We
love David Cronenberg.
We do. And I feel like we had to run it out for all the sickos, you know.
Yeah.
Is there But yeah, that's all I had. Do you guys have any other movies you're really looking forward to? Garfield? No?
Yeah, Garfield, Bob Marley, One Love.
The thing that really bothers me about, I'm going to go on a little rant here, the Bob Marley One Love, it's probably going to be a decent movie. The director's fine. But like the title is like so obviously a studio note. Like they clearly wanted to title the movie just One Love, and they were like, no, you have to put Bob Marley in the title. Because that's how it's going to sell, baby. So now we get Bob Marley, One Love. So that's great.
To kind of keep the tangent going for a second, this is actually a trailer I've seen. Is for Bob Marley, One Love. And it's funny. So musical biopics are often like criticized because then like a post Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, the formula is so tired and like, you know, they need to figure out a new way to do music biopics. The Bob Marley One Love trailer follows the Dewey Cox like formula. Like it starts with him like saying, oh, where do we start from the beginning? It's like then you know he's going to be telling about his whole entire life like before the concert. Like it's just like, I'm so sick of musical biopics, dude. They're the worst. I absolutely hate them.
Well, speaking of that, we get Back to Black, the Amy Winehouse biopic coming out this year too.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So we'll have
Just what we need. More musical biopics. Yes.
Amen. I think one of my other like guilty pleasure movies is gonna be Venom 3 because it's going to be terrible, but
Yep.
I'm gonna eat it up. It's it's being directed by the person who wrote the first two. Um
That's
and
always such a good sign.
this is their directorial debut. So this movie's going to be a train wreck. I don't think any of the original cast are returning confirmed except for Tom Hardy.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, yeah, is Tom Hardy not in this movie?
I think this movie could be terrible, but I think it's going to be so much fun to go and watch that because the Venom movies are all like a tight hour and a half. So
Yep.
it's like just a nice way to spend an evening, and then I'll, just vibe.
I had a
I
lot of
think more
fun with.
movies you should be able to just vibe with and forget.
I had a lot of fun with Let There Be Carnage. I'm gonna say that
Amen.
now. Not a good movie,
Oh
but
my
I had a great time. Just 90 minutes and that's it. It was great.
Okay, Nick.
Yeah, here I am. I'm a man of I have many facets to me, you know. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, Kill Me Now.
Yeah, please.
Amen.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's about it. The Fall Guy? No, we're not David Leitch people. So
None of us
I'm
are.
I'm lukewarm on David Leitch because I do like
Oh.
Deadpool too. But yeah, other than that, I do like that Ryan Gosling seems to be playing like making fun of just like actor types in general. So I think that could be fun. But
I just hope he's getting the bag, and then as he gets closer
Yeah.
to
Someone
50,
needs to
he starts
save-
working with like Paul Thomas Anderson, and like he just goes
Yeah.
on a run with other great directors. That's what I'm
Like
hoping
Barbie, it was nice to see him in a movie that's like, pretty fun and using him well again. But like I'm Fall Guy, the Gray Man, I'm like, get away from Ryan Gosling, you
for.
freaks. Like, leave him alone.
Yeah, I think that about wraps it up, though. Unless you guys want to talk about Terrifier 3 for 20 minutes. No?
I'm kind of excited for it. That's it.
I didn't see Terrifier 2. I saw it was 2.5 hours long, and I was like, nope, not going to do it.
It's too long, for sure. Crazy movie.
Well, I think that about wraps it up for us here. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure previewing the 2024 slate with you. But yeah, that's the podcast. If you can check out all of our work on moviebell.com. I guess we're gonna have a Coppola podcast at some point this year. We've established that.
Do it.
And fuck it,
Apes pod.
I was gonna say we'll do an Apes pod too. So
yeah.
we'll be back talking about something else sometime soon. But yeah, until then, I'm gonna be watching the Furiosa trailer again. So we'll see you guys next time.